And also impacting the profitability of the nation's exporters as well as the domestic economy is the won-to-yen exchange rate. The rate has been unsettling in recent days, but it seems to have stabilized today more or less, rising above the significant 1,000 mark in the foreign exchange market this Wednesday. The local currency was quoted at 1,006.5 against the Japanese yen, dropping in value from Tuesday's onshore close at 999.4. For an in-depth discussion, our regular contributor, Dr. Byoung-joo, joins us live in the studio. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Kim.
Good afternoon.
So yesterday we saw Korea's foreign exchange market showing signs of a nervousness a little bit with the falling yen. Now, how far has the value come down?
Yeah, yesterday it was 998.4 or 999, depending on how you see it. The falling value of yen as compared to Korean won is making a lot of people nervous in the Korean business community for sure. And so let's get the right sense about how fast this fall has been. Let's bring up the graph that we have prepared here. This is a 2-month trend, what's been happening for the past 2 months. And that's the fall that you see on the screen. And that is, the magnitude is about, let's say, about 6% in about 6 weeks period of time. So depending on how you see it, it's rather significant. And as you mentioned, below 1,001 per 100 Japanese yen is a very significant psychological barrier. And the fact that it actually broke it yesterday meant a lot yesterday. And today we saw bouncing back of value of won and value of yen indeed over 1,000 level. But we have to wait and see closely what it will be happening. But let's get a better sense about what has been happening longer term. Let's bring up next graph here, and we'll take a look at the overall 1-year trend. For the 1-year period of time, what we are seeing here is about 17% drop in 6 months period starting from mid-June last year, hitting the bottom. The bottom was actually, that remember, in the 1-year period of time was at the end of last year, and it was lower than what we saw yesterday, 994.29. And then it rose about 5 to 6% in about a month time, and then 2-month period of about like going up and down continued, and then what we saw was what we just saw in the previous graph. So overall, the way I see it, the fall has been not as dramatic, but still, it really depends on which sector of the economy you belong to.
Well, the weakening yen has been cited as a problem all across the world in recent days, and they say the yen is falling because Japan's current account surplus is shrinking. Now, then we have to wonder: is Abenomics working? I mean, if the yen is depreciating, then Abenomics obviously is in the works. However, on the other hand, if the current account surplus is shrinking, then what does that mean?
Right. Probably it could also, by itself, current account surplus shrinking may indicate that Abenomics is not working.
Yeah,
so it's very confusing, right? Indeed. For sure, what's driving yen down in comparison with won's value itself is, as you mentioned, current account surplus shrinking in Japan, and that is actually disappointing a lot of investors. Actually, they were expecting for March current account surplus to reach about 347 billion yen. But the thing is, the actual number turned out to be about half of it, 116 billion yen. So indeed, the market was quite disappointed by that, and what we saw probably was in the foreign exchange market, not as much in the stock market. I don't think foreign investors are selling Japanese stocks yet, but they were selling Japanese yen, and indeed we saw the drop of Japanese yen indeed. And what they're saying is, overall, to answer your question partly, in terms of Japanese trade, Japanese trade should do much better thanks to the perhaps working Abenomics, but it is not. So they're saying probably Abenomics is not making as much difference on the Japanese trade side. Their trade value is increasing, but trade volume is not increasing as much. So what does that mean? That means Japanese exporters are not cutting their prices as actively yet, and they're being very conservative. So indeed, on the trade side, we're not seeing the impact as much.
Well, in Korea, I think more increasingly we are seeing that the falling of the yen is really negatively impacting Korean firms.
Right, especially Korean firms that are exporting to Japan. They're saying almost close to 90% of them are saying, it's hurting them. But the thing is, our key concern is how much it's hurting in the third market, overseas market in the United States and Europe and so on. But consensus seems to be so far it's not that much. As I mentioned, Japanese exporters are being quite conservative about this, and they're not cutting their prices as much. So in the global market, it's not hurting us that much yet.
Now, let's talk about another group of people, the average Koreans who like shopping on Japanese websites, for instance. Now, this falling yen must be good news for Korea's internet shoppers.
Right, I suppose. Are you one of them yet?
No,
Suppose
I'm not that tech savvy, I must admit.
It is picking up. Shopping of Japanese goods over online is picking up, they're saying. And there are some Japanese websites that are offering, indeed, Korean language service. Language has been the biggest barrier for this, and now with this Korean service, they're saying Korean shoppers are buying sports products, sports shoes, and even swimming suits and different kind of golf equipments.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying it's cheaper than buying from here in Korea. So indeed, with those benefits, we see the growing activism of Korean online shoppers using Japanese websites. If the weakening yen, that trend continues, probably we'll get to see more of those for sure.
All right, well, so good news for the shoppers at least. Now, with the yen falling and the won rising, some are beginning to say that perhaps the Korean won is a safe asset in the global market.
Some people are saying that already, but majority view seems to be that's a little bit premature. In order to have Korean won to become a key currency that will replace Japanese yen, we should continuously see won keeping its value up whenever there is a trouble globally. So far, the mixed record has been mixed. In the past, of course, the won was falling every time there was trouble. But recently, I think there was last year's May, for instance, a big trouble in the emerging market. Korea's won actually increased in terms of value. So that was a latest trend. But still, I think we need more time to make any judgment whether Korean won is emerging as one of the key trends that could potentially or partially replace yen. We need more time on that one.
All right, Dr. Kim Byoung-joo, thank you so much for today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.